Okay, so tonight's homework is on persuasive essay structure. We're going to be focusing specifically on the body of the paper, the counterargument, as well as the conclusion. So there's a lot to talk about. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to talk first about the body paragraphs. Writers set the stage for the main body of the essay in the introduction. Remember, we talked yesterday about how you're going to clearly list in order in the intro the topic that you're going to be discussing throughout the rest of the topics or the arguments you're going to be talking about the rest of the essay. So follow that plan as you go. Refer back to your intro, which we wrote in class the day before, and write argument 1 should have been listed first, then argument 2, then argument 3. You're going to follow that plan as you set it out in the intro so that I can literally, when I start reading it, I can compare the list that you made in the introduction to how you actually wrote it in the essay. So it should match up. The first sentence of each paragraph of your body paragraphs is a topic sentence. So it's going to let the reader know what the rest of that paragraph is going to be about. It's really important that you focus on those topic sentences. The rest of the sentences in the body paragraphs should be including details and the description of the paragraph's main idea. It needs to include a fact or a quote and MLA in-text citation. So every body paragraph should have some sort of fact or quote from your research, and you're going to give it some in-text citation. All right, so a closer look at the body paragraphs. The first sentence is going to state your argument. That's what the paragraph is going to be about. This is what we called the assertion in video 6.3, I believe. So the next couple of sentences is where you're going to give your reasoning. That's the because part of the sentence. You're going to offer the support for your argument in your own words. Then finally, you're going to complete the paragraph with the evidence. That's going to be your actual research piece. Don't forget that we can use the acronym ICE here. You're going to introduce your quote, you're going to cite your quote, and you're going to explain your quote. So you're not going to finish every paragraph with a quote because you still have to explain that quote, but that's where you're going to come in with your research. So again, your first sentence or topic sentence is going to state your argument, and this is your assertion. This is what your paragraph is going to be about. The next couple of sentences is the because part. You're going to explain why this is a valid argument in your own words. Then you're going to complete the paragraph with your own evidence. This is your research. You need to explain the research, and you also need to cite the research. So avoid that plagiarism piece and cite your source. Okay. All right. Really quick review on the citation because I really want to make sure that we don't forget it. It's really valuable. We talked about it last week. This should be going in all of your body paragraphs because you should have a fact or some sort of example or evidence in every body paragraph. Okay, so it's really important that we remember how to cite our sources. So some general guidelines. The info you need to know on how to cite your source depends on the type of source. So if it's a website, it's different than a book, a magazine, etc. Most of our sources are web-based, so you can follow these general rules. So here's an example sentence where you have the author listed. So you start by saying the author's name in the sentence somewhere. Gary Smith stated that teenagers with cell phones tend to stay in contact with their parents throughout the day. You've got the page number listed at the end. The period is at the end of the sentence of all of that. And you've also got quotation marks around the actual part that you're using word for word. Teenagers with a cell phone tend to stay in contact with their parents throughout the day. And you'll notice this time I didn't mention the author in the beginning of the sentence. Instead, I listed it at the end. And don't forget that the period comes at the end. So I've got the author's last name, Smith, and the page number. Okay, if you don't have an author listed, remember I did question whether or not that was a credible source because you don't have an author listed. But let's say you got the information from a frequently asked questions site or article, like this example here. According to the frequently asked questions page on Verizon's website, currently 78% of teenagers in the United States own a cell phone. So I've got the title of the website listed here, and then I've got the page number and the period at the end. So it is something just like in the first part where you could actually list the page or the article within the sentence, or you could do it at the end. 78% of teenagers in the United States own a cell phone, and I put the website title at the end. Please notice that there are quotation marks inside the parentheses whenever you use a title. So it's really important that you notice that. I've got quotation marks right around where it says Verizon frequently asked questions or FAQ. Okay, now moving on to the counter-argument paragraph. This is the last paragraph of the body of your paper, and it comes before the conclusion, and it's your way to acknowledge the other side but still prove them wrong. This is tricky, so try really hard not to confuse your reader. So the counter argument, you need to make sure you state what the other side might argue. So the opposition, what are they saying? What is the argument for the other side? So if you're affirmative, what does the negative side argue? That's why I had you do that little poplet where I had you think about arguments for the other side. So you're going to go and list at least one argument from the other side. This can be stated in the very first sentence of the paragraph. And then the rest of the paragraph, you need to use details and examples to prove that you're right and they are wrong. So this is where we tend to get confused. If you talk too much about the other side, the opposite side, then you're going to confuse the reader and they're going to have to say, wait, were they affirmative or negative? I don't remember. So try really hard to not do that. Prove your side to be right. Come back to your side always. So state what the other side might say, but then you have to prove them wrong. Pick one argument that you research from the opposite side, go back to your poplet brainstorm, and only list the one. You don't need to give them more ammo. You don't need to list more than one argument for the other side. Just pick one. Use a fact from your research to prove that argument wrong. Don't support the other side. Stick to your side of the argument. Okay. All right, moving on to the conclusion. Don't forget the conclusion should mimic the intro. So once you have the intro done, you're halfway there to finish the conclusion. So, the conclusion restates the thesis from the intro. It summarizes all the main important parts from your essay, and it uses some of the same keywords from your intro. It should also include a lot of the same information. So it should be several sentences. It should not be just one sentence. I've seen some students turn that in the past, and it drives me insane. So it should be its own paragraph, but it also should be about 4 to 5 sentences in length. So really mimic what you did or copy what you did in the intro. It shouldn't be the exact same words like your intro, but it should be very similar. A lot of the same parts should go into your conclusion. Okay, that was a lot of information. You're finished. Honor students, don't forget to add or to do the digital submission. And if you are willing to present your MLA formatting, possibly even make a video on what you did in your essay to make sure that you had all of the MLA formatting done correctly, please come see me for some bonus points. Thanks, guys.